Hi, welcome to Pyrography Made Easy. I'm Brenda. In this tutorial episode, I am going to show you how to create smoke. I'm going to show you two different ways how to create the smoke. The first one involves using straight pyrography, and the other one uses a rotary tool, like a Dremel. I'll be using the Customizer Engraver, but any rotary tool will work. There isn't an advantage to using one method over the other to create smoke. Instead, it's just a way to show you that there is more than one way to create the texture. Well, let's get started. This is the reference photo. A link to the original on Pixabay will be in the video description. I will be using this section of the image. I want you to examine the smoke and notice the white lines that define the edges of the smoke. Then notice how the color of the smoke between two white lines isn't as bright as the edges of it are. Lastly, notice how most of the smoke is fairly translucent, but there is this opaque column of smoke. I begin by drawing the white lines that define the edges of the smoke onto the board. Here's how my drawing looks, and this is the closest to a pattern you will get for this project. Once the line drawing was completed, I began burning along the outer edges of the smoke. I'm working on the dark background. I'm using a spear shader for this because I can angle it, so I'm only using the tip. This produces lines that are similar to what a writer nib can produce. If I decrease the angle I'm holding the shader at, then more metal is in contact with the board, allowing me to create much wider burn strokes. Now I will admit, it would be much easier to use a writer pen tip when creating the thin lines. Oh, and by the way, nib, tip, and pen tip all mean the same thing. Rotate the board as needed to keep your pen tip in optimal position while burning along the outer edges of the smoke. This will help ensure the edges of the smoke have crisp, clean lines. Optimal position means that the front edge or the toe of the nib is on the line, but the body of the nib is positioned over the background. After you've burned around the edges of the smoke, then burn the background to a dark brown or black color. Use the shader of your choice. I switched shaders because I was testing out a different nib. When possible, I prefer to test nibs on demo projects like this. As you can see, I have a considerable amount of overburn on the smoke. Arrows are pointing to a few spots. This happened because I was burning at a high temperature. I used a sand eraser to remove some of the worst spots, but I didn't record that. Since the smoke is mostly translucent, I wasn't too worried about the overburn. Except for the opaque column. There I used the edge of a sharp knife to get that column of smoke really crisp and clean. I started with the left column of smoke. This column has pale lines along its outer edges. Also, the color gets gradually darker as you work your way up from the bottom. As I burn, I am careful to avoid the pale lines along the edges of this column. As I look at the video, I can see that I didn't do a very good job of avoiding the pale lines along the edges. I would highly recommend doing a better job than what I did. My burner heat setting is fairly low. It is producing a light to medium tan color, and I have to reburn over the area several times to build up the color. Reburning to slowly build up the color is a much better approach than burning at higher heats, mostly because low and slow gives you better control over the burn results. I'm working my way up the smoke column. I'm concentrating on the areas where the smoke thins out and more of the dark background is visible. As needed, I do clean up the edges of my smoke as I'm working. Don't be afraid to add quite a bit of color to your smoke. The background is really dark, so the smoke can have quite a bit of color in it and still look pale. Plus, there are numerous areas where that smoke is fairly translucent, so that dark background is really visible. Rotate the board as needed to make burning easier. Some directions are easier than others, especially when you're working along the edges. I also recommend keeping the reference photo close by and consulting with it often. I am frequently checking with the reference photo as I'm burning. Here are some of the things I check for. I look to see how opaque or how transparent the smoke is in the section I'm currently burning. I check to see how noticeable the pale lines along the edges of the smoke are. I also look for anything unusual that I need to capture. An example of this would be the section of smoke that curls and loops back on itself. That area is circled on the inset photo. Another thing I check is the general shape of the area I'm burning in. Obviously, the smoke does not need to be an exact match of the reference photo, but I do try to make sure that the shape of the smoke is similar to the reference photo. If you have rotated the board, make sure you rotate the reference photo to match the orientation of the board. That will make it a lot easier for consulting and comparing with your artwork. When I'm working on the smoke, I do not have my burner set at a high heat. I much prefer to burn at lower heats so I can work slowly. The slower I work, the lower the heat setting is. Because I'm working at a lower heat, I do a lot of reburning to build up the color. For me, this approach results in greater control of the final artwork. Plus, I make fewer mistakes. Notice my choice of words, fewer mistakes. I say this because I have yet to create a piece of artwork where I didn't have to fix a few mistakes. Most of the time, I edit out the areas where I'm fixing mistakes because I don't want to waste your time. Be aware, they do happen. I've started burning the more complex area of the smoke. I'm carefully burning around the pale lines. You may have noticed that my burn results are pretty dark, but I have not increased the heat on my burner. Instead, I'm working really slow, so the burn results are darker. Quite truthfully, I should have decreased the heat setting, but I tend to be a set it and forget it type of person. I also tend to be a lazy burner. By that I mean I hate switching pin tips because I have to wait for them to come up to temperature, I have to make sure that the burn results are what I want, etc. And that's why I'm still using a spear shader in this video instead of a rider nib. A rider nib would make defining the pale lines much easier to do, especially in this small convoluted area. I continue to define the pale lines by burning around them, or maybe burning adjacent to them is a better term. Then I burn in the area between the pale lines. I always check with the reference photo to determine how dark the area between the pale lines should be. I also check to see how bright the pale lines should be. Not all of those lines are the same brightness. Basically, I burn a little bit, then I consult with the reference photo, and I burn some more. As I said before, I am not aiming to create an exact replica of the reference photo. Instead, I'm trying to create something that looks similar. To me, the main goal of this project is to learn about the basic components that make up the smoke. Should I ever need to create smoke again, I'll have a better understanding of how to create that texture. That is the information I want you to walk away with. I want you to be able to look at smoke and break it down into its major components, then replicate those components. Smoke, in its simplest form, is nothing more than areas that vary in how opaque or translucent they are. The thinner the smoke is, the more translucent it becomes. There isn't a specific texture per se that we are trying to create. This isn't fur or tree bark. Instead, it is all about controlling how dark or light an area is. Break the smoke down into small areas. The smaller it is, the easier it is to replicate what you see. My smoke is blocked in. Now it is time to reburn and fine-tune the smoke. I reburn to darken areas, and I fine-tune the shape and thickness of the pale lines. There isn't anything unique or different that I'm doing. I am still using either circular motion or uniform strokes as my burn method. I still frequently consult with the reference photo. I will continue this process of reburning and fine-tuning until I'm happy with how the smoke looks, or until I get sick of working on it. Because I have nothing new to say about creating the smoke, I am ending this portion of the tutorial. Here is a comparison between the reference photo and my rendition of the smoke. I'm using a white colored pencil to draw the smoke onto a board I burned to a dark color. This is the Customizer Engraving pen equipped with a cone-shaped, diamond-coated bit. I found that the diamond-coated bits are similar to sandpaper, so they are good for slowly removing color from the board. I begin by running the engraving pen over the pencil lines. The pencil lines represent the white areas found in the smoke. This process of removing color is the opposite of the straight pyrography method I just demonstrated. With the straight pyrography method, I either avoided burning over the white areas or I just lightly burned over them. With the engraving method, we need to remove color until the area is as pale as it needs to be. Areas where the smoke is opaque and bright white requires most, if not all, of the burn marks to be removed. In areas where the smoke is translucent, then only some of the background color needs to be removed. Or to put this in another way, the background color just needs to be lightened up so that it looks like translucent smoke instead of the dark background. I am not pressing very hard with the engraving pen. I don't want to carve the wood. Instead, my goal is to remove burn marks. Because my goal is to either remove or lighten up burn marks, I run the engraving pen over areas a number of times to slowly remove color. This is the opposite of the pyrography method, where I reburned over areas a number of times to slowly build up the color. You may have noticed that I changed bits on the engraver. I am now using a carbide burr. The burr has sharp edges that make it quick to grind off burn marks. I switched bits because the diamond-coated bit was taking forever. The burr is making the process of color removal much faster. There is a slight problem with the burr. It can very easily carve deep into the wood surface, so I have to be extra careful to use a light hand pressure when using the carbide burr. I switched back to the diamond-coated bit to work on the more translucent parts of the smoke. The diamond-coated bit isn't as aggressive as the burr, so it is easier to remove thin layers of color. The Customizer Engraver comes with a number of diamond-coated bits, so I'm testing out other shapes to see how they perform. The engraving process creates a lot of dust, so wear a mask. Also, it is helpful to remove dust buildup from the board with a stiff bristled brush. I'm using a really cheap craft brush for this. I got it in a clearance bin at Michael's. It was around 50 cents. I do apologize for the jumpiness of the video. I'm using a really thin board, and the engraver has a tendency to move it around. As I work, I am slowly removing color or burn marks from the board. In areas where the smoke is thick and pale in color, I remove a lot of the burn marks. In areas where the smoke is thin and fairly translucent, I remove just enough color from the smoke to differentiate it from the background. I like to work on the opaque or bright areas of the smoke first. Most of the bright areas are thin lines that give the smoke its shape. Once the bright areas or lines are in place, then I work on the more translucent areas of the smoke. I know that the translucent areas need to be darker than the opaque, bright ones. This means I need to remove less color from the translucent areas. I'm using a writer pen tip to tidy up the outer edges of the smoke. Or to put it another way, I'm making sure that the outer edges of my smoke are crisp and clean. Afterwards, I switched back to the engraving pen and resumed lightening up the areas of the smoke. I do want to point out that you can use any rotary tool, like a Dremel, for this process. I prefer to use the Customizer because its small pen size makes it easy for me to handle. Plus, it's battery operated, so I don't have to deal with the power cord. I'll put a link for the engraving pen in the video description. This is a comparison of the reference photo with my artwork, and this compares the two styles of smoke. The one on the left was done with straight pyrography, and the one on the right was done with the engraving pen. Well, that is it for this video. I hope you found the information helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would really help my channel out. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.